Hey everyone, it's Aaron Hughes from FuDog Group, and in this video I'm going to be talking about your purpose in life. Yeah, not a small topic at all. We're going to be talking about a purpose in life, and I'm going to take a slightly different approach than you might have normally heard about the topic of purpose. So usually when people talk about purpose, they hold up as examples these great big, lofty, powerful, inspiring, and noble purposes. An example is Tony Robbins' purpose, which is something like he wants to feed 1 billion families in the world. Or there is, I can't remember her name, I think it's Rose Kennedy, whose purpose was to raise a family of world leaders. So those are like big, lofty, noble, inspiring purposes that if you have them, you can like share them with everyone and maybe get other people behind them, and they're kind of exciting and noble. They're big purposes. But let's talk about normal everyday people like you and I, who may not always think of a giant purpose like that, or who may not always feel inspired or motivated to a purpose like that. And I have struggled my whole life trying to find a giant purpose like that, because I think it's great to feed 1 billion people, and I think that should happen, and I'd love to contribute that. But is that really what drives me forward every day? So I struggled to find a purpose, a really well-articulated purpose like that for a long time, especially in the early days of my business as a copywriter and consultant, when I thought, okay, it sounds amazing to feed 1 billion families, but here I am just trying to find a client to pay tomorrow's bills and keep the roof over my head, while at the same time juggling my marriage and my friends and my community and my hobbies and all those different things of life. And so I thought, okay, a purpose sounds amazing, but I guess I can't have one, or I guess my purpose isn't lofty enough because I am just trying to pay the bills today. And I get the theory that if you have this great big inspiring purpose, you can work toward it. And so I think Tony Robbins might say he's going to feed 1 billion families, but he's just going to start with one. Okay, that's great. But I could never find that big, lofty, inspiring purpose that I was well articulated and I could proudly say to everyone, and it was going to change the world. It just never kind of clicked for me. I thought about things like, well, I love books and reading and literacy. Maybe I have a purpose around literacy. But then that never really felt aligned with the work that I was doing. Or I thought maybe I could have a purpose around, I love helping people find a job that they love. Or a career, or start a business that they love. I just love it when people kind of create a work that is really, really aligned with them. But is that a purpose? And how do I articulate that? And how do I make it big and lofty and noble? So I was actually kind of demotivated by my efforts to find this great, big, lofty, noble purpose that I could share with the world. Plus, I was just trying to pay the bills for today. And I'm going to guess that there's probably a lot of people who are like that. And so let me first start by giving you permission that it's okay to not have the big, lofty goal of feeding 1 billion people or raising a family of world leaders. I think we can think about purpose differently. So here is what I'm going to suggest as a different approach to creating a purpose. Step 1, consider where you are in a 3-part spectrum. I think all humans kind of go through this 3-part spectrum where first they are just surviving. And they are, this is kind of like the hierarchy of needs, right? So this is the bottom part of that pyramid where they are just surviving. They are paying the bills, they're eating, they're hydrating, they're sleeping, they're staying active, like all of the things that you need to survive. They're creating a foundation of survival. Then the next part of life, once you have those things done, you can move on to the next part of life. And the next part of life is something like elevating. Let's call it elevating. And here you are, okay, you've got all the foundational pieces. Now you have the space, the energy, the mental space to now thrive, to elevate every area of your life, to invest back into yourself and to grow yourself. And then once you've got through that, then you can focus on things like contribution and impact and legacy. And now that's not to say that you can't work on improving yourself or work on your impact while you're still in survival mode. But I think you really need to feel like you're nailing down survival in order to move to the next stage, and then feel like you're nailing down this in order to move to the next stage. So yes, in survival mode, you can somehow improve yourself and you can somehow contribute, but your purpose in the moment is to just survive. And then you move to the next stage or phase or whatever I called it, and your purpose in the moment is to elevate. And then finally, once you get out of that, you've got the two pieces in place. Now you can contribute. And I think we see that as kind of a pattern of people's lives, where you are building that foundation, paying the bills, then investing in yourself and growing yourself, and then moving toward contribution and impact and legacy. And so I'd like you to consider thinking about your purpose as being one of those, whichever one you are in right now. And so maybe you are running a business or just starting out in your career and you are in the survival mode. And your purpose right now is to survive. Your purpose is to build that survival foundation where your bills are paid, there is a roof over your head, there is food on your table, and so on. And then at some point, you will elevate. If you keep doing those things consistently and you build up that foundation, you will elevate to the next part, which will be your next purpose in life. And that is to elevate yourself, to thrive, to grow every area of your own life. And then once you get that piece built, then you can move to the next purpose, which will be to have a contribution, impact others, and leave a legacy. And so you don't have to have that big, lofty, noble purpose of feeding 1 billion families. If you do, keep doing it, that's great. But I think most people potentially struggle with that, or they're finding one that's not aligned, or they're demotivated because the one they have seems so impossible and they're just trying to survive today. And so I want to give you permission and something to consider where maybe your purpose is just in one of these phases that I talked about. Now, once you have those, of course, you can layer on other things. For example, if you are a person of faith or has kind of a religious connection and you want to include some sort of religious purpose, like, I want to honor God every day, for example. You can still do that as part of your purpose within the part that you're, within the survival, elevate, or impact phases. Or if you want to feed families, but you don't want to have 1 billion family goal or purpose, then you can still, in this survival mode, you are going to, feed a family or work at or volunteer, at a soup kitchen or whatever. So you can have these other pieces in your life that are important to you, but you don't have to find one big, lofty, noble, inspiring goal or purpose that drives everything, especially if you're struggling to find it. Don't worry about it. Focus instead on these 3 parts, figure out where you are, and then dial in the pieces of your life that are important to you. It's okay in a period of your life to just be focused on your own survival. Because if you don't focus on that, you'll never get to that 1 billion families fed or whatever your lofty purpose might be. But you have to feed your own family too. So those are my thoughts on purpose. As you think about your purpose in life, it's great to come up with a lofty goal and hold those up as inspiring examples. But I don't think they're practical for most people. I think most of us want a purpose in life that makes sense to us, that makes sure we survive make sure we thrive and grow, and make sure that we contribute to the world. And I think a purpose that is kind of practical and focused on where we are in those 3 stages makes a lot of sense. And it's okay for you to not have a large and lofty purpose, because the impact you have maybe doesn't have to be 1 billion people fed. Now, maybe it is, and maybe that's what you want to do, and you're working toward that, and that is amazing. But I think for a lot of people, just having a purpose that is to survive, grow, and contribute makes a lot of sense. Okay, a little technical glitch there. It looks like I'm back. Once you know where you are in whether survival, grow, or contribute, then layer on the pieces that are important to you, whether that's faith, family, financials, whatever, and create a purpose that makes sense and is inspiring for you today. All right, everyone. I hope that was helpful for you. It really clarified a lot for me about purpose when I first thought about these things years ago. And now I have a purpose in life that feels good with where I am and still inspires me to grow. And I hope you find that for yourself as well. Have an amazing day.